Cedric Gray from Magnolia Capital Real Estate has joined me again. It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's good
Welcome
to be back.
2019. Here we are, believe it or not. So we're going to talk, real estate is obviously a national, global entity, but we here in the Lowcountry are a little bit unique in certain ways.
Correct.
So we're going to touch on that today, and let's start with what surprises you find for people who are moving from out of state that want to buy here, or even just buying here as a second home. Okay. Either way.
So there's three things that I would like to highlight. Number one is most of the properties here fall underneath either a homeowners association, property owners association, or regime. We also have things like transfer fees, and we have a uniqueness when it comes to the taxes here.
Okay, so those are all different usually from where people are coming from.
Correct.
All right, and so let's talk about the homeowners and regimes and all those rules and regulations that you have to follow when you move down
Absolutely.
here.
Absolutely. It's like a different set of defined rules that come with the owning of that particular property inside of that community. And so if you would like to purchase property in a community that's gated or has a HOA or POA, then basically what you're signing up for is saying that you're going to follow these additional rules and regulations, which means that you're not going to go in and paint your house neon pink. You're not going to do anything outside the norm.
Yeah.
And that also, it goes into the calculation of a mortgage. So if you're coming from an area that doesn't have HOAs or POAs, you might be able to qualify for $300,000 mortgage. Well, if a property here has an HOA, POA, that same property, you might not qualify for the exact amount because the way they calculate your mortgage, that money that's paid every month or semi-annually or annually to the HOA counts towards your mortgage. So you might only qualify for a $280,000 property.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I did not realize that point.
Mm-hmm.
But they just passed a law that homeowners associations have to publicly state what their rules and regulations are. So now people moving here at least have a chance to know what they're getting into before they sign.
And that's a great change too, because those rules and regulations change all the time. Most people aren't going to sit there and read the entire covenants because they're probably going to be 1,200 plus pages, depending on which community it is. Some communities have a pretty diverse set of rules and regulations, some not so much.
And so then tell us about what the transfer fee means.
So the transfer fee covers when a property is transferred from one owner to the next. So that goes into the documentation and the transfer of that particular property, as well as it goes into a reserve account for the community. And it covers things like maintenance, and it goes into that general fund as well.
And that's typically paid by the buyer?
It actually is negotiable.
Really?
Everything in real estate is negotiable.
Everything's negotiable.
Everything's negotiable. So it doesn't really specify who has to pay. Normally on the purchase agreement, it's basically what you can do is you can select who is going to pay for that. So.
Okay, interesting. And you also said taxes are different here.
Yes.
How so?
So, well, if it's your primary residence, you are taxed at a 4% rate. And if you are a secondary or an investment property, you're taxed at a higher percentage rate, which is 6%. That 2% doesn't.
No, it's a big deal.
It's huge. It almost triples your taxes. So it will.
I know that because my tax bill was wrong the first time I moved down here, and they had it as a rental, and it wasn't. And it was a little bit of a sticker shock.
Oh yes, and it takes a while to fix it.
Yes, it does.
So if you have a mortgage, it takes about a year to get that fixed. The county will fix it fairly quick, but you basically what ends up happening is if you have a mortgage, your mortgage company takes forever to reimburse you that fund.
Which is a lot of fun. But, so hopefully that doesn't happen to you. But and then so in our last minute or so here, you also wanted to talk about some loans that might be unique to this area.
Yes. Okay, being that we here in the Lowcountry, one of the loans that's very unique, and it's not only to this area, but a lot of rural areas, and this is considered a rural area, we have what's called a USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture or Rural Development loans, which basically it's a no money down program for first-time home buyers.
Okay.
It is a great, program.
Yeah.
And it's available all over Beaufort County except for here on Hilton Head. This is the only place that doesn't qualify for it.
Well, you know, Fantasy Island and all that.
Right.
But that's a really interesting program because you wouldn't necessarily think that Bluffton would qualify as rural, but it does.
And it's great for teachers, police officers. There are a lot of restrictions on it as far as income. But most of your working class folks will qualify for it. I think the cap is around $80,000 for a family of 4. So if people make less than that, that's a really good program for buying a property.
Absolutely. That was all really great information. Obviously, the guy knows what he's talking about, so make sure you're calling Cedric.
Thank you.